An ambulance ride shouldn't cost more than a flight to Paris, but in today's United States, it does. The average ground ambulance bill is around $1,450, and that's before any additional fees kick in. Meanwhile, Americans spend approximately $14,570 per person on healthcare, yet medical debt still crushes millions, with total debt exceeding $220 billion. Student loan debt has soared to $1.7 trillion, second only to mortgages, while average rent now costs $1,850 a month. Home prices have hit $403,700, outpacing wage growth and shattering first-time buyer hopes. Gun deaths remain alarmingly high, with over 40,000 fatalities in 2023, and the nation's infrastructure limps along with a shaky C grade. If that sounds absurd, stay with us. We're about to unpack why living in the US has gone off the rails and how the system keeps pushing ordinary people to the edge. Imagine you slip on a wet pavement, fracture an ankle, and the ambulance arrives in under 10 minutes. Relief, right? Until the bill shows $2,000 for the ride, plus another $12,000 for the emergency room's facility fee. American healthcare isn't just costly, it's systematically inflated to a point that defies logic. According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, total spending hit $4.9 trillion in 2023, equating to approximately $14,570 per person. This figure is nearly double the average per capita spend among other wealthy OECD nations. Yet, despite outspending the world, the US ranks below peers on life expectancy, maternal mortality, and preventable hospitalizations. How does that maths work? A maze of private insurers adds administrative overhead that eats nearly 8 cents of every healthcare dollar. Drug prices tell a similar story. Before 2023, insulin averaged $98 per month, more than 8 times what users pay in Canada. Now caps limit costs to $35 for most insured users, though some uninsured Americans still pay more. But even with insurance, more than 1 in 5 emergency visits leaves patients on the hook for out-of-network fees they never saw coming. No wonder medical debt remains the #1 cause of personal bankruptcy filings. During the pandemic, Medicaid enrollment climbed past 91 million people, masking the cliff many families now face as states unwind coverage. Estimates suggest up to 15 million could lose insurance this year. Many will discover that a single hospital stay can equal a year's salary. Behind the scenes, lobbyists spend over $600 million annually to keep price negotiation rules soft. Meanwhile, hospitals in rural America keep closing, over 100 since 2010, forcing residents to drive hours for basic care. The absurdity intensifies when you realize Americans also pay more in taxes for healthcare than citizens of some universal care countries. Those taxes fund Medicare, Medicaid, and employer deductions, yet still demand hefty premiums at the front desk, and the bills never forget to charge interest. Even when your body is still healing. If healing costs this much, what about learning? Remember when a college diploma was called a ticket to prosperity? Today, it feels more like a boarding pass that never lets you off the plane. As reported by Forbes, federal student debt stands at $1.7 trillion, the highest non-mortgage consumer liability in the country. After a 43-month payment pause, delinquency rates exploded from under 1% to 8% in a single quarter, according to the New York Federal Reserve. The average borrower owes $39,000, nearly equivalent to the US median individual income. But averages hide sharper edges. Black graduates typically leave school with more debt, yet earn less in their first decade, magnifying default risks. Private loans add salt to the wound. No federal protections, variable rates north of 14%, and bankruptcy relief that remains difficult despite recent reforms. Meanwhile, countries like Germany, Denmark, Norway offer college education for free, or nearly so, highlighting just how punishing the US model has become. Even Australia links repayment strictly to income thresholds, capping pressure during lean years. Meanwhile, American universities escalate sticker prices faster than inflation, spending more on climbing walls and marketing than on full-time faculty. Public subsidies have withered. State funding per student is down nearly 10% from 2008. When adjusted for inflation, Colleges bridge the gap with tuition hikes, and families plug the hole with loans. Even forgiving $10,000 as once proposed would barely dent the principles that balloon because rates keep ticking. It's a circular treadmill, yet no one steps off because credentials remain gatekeepers to middle-class jobs. As monthly payments restart, millions will juggle rent, groceries, and loan bills, discovering that compound interest doesn't care about rising avocado prices. Speaking of rising prices, the next arena of absurdity is the very roof over the heads of Americans. Prepare for sticker shock in the housing market. Step into any open house this spring, and you'll see the same thing. Fresh paint, anxious buyers, and a whisper from the agent, offers due by noon, and yes, above asking. The median home now costs over $400,000, up 43% since before the pandemic. Mortgage rates near 7% have doubled monthly payments since 2020, pushing many first-time buyers out of the market entirely. So they rent at an average of $1,850 a month, or more than $3,000 in major cities. But wages? The median household brings in about $76,000 a year, meaning a third or more vanishes just to stay housed. Economists call that severely cost-burdened. Most people just call it exhausting. Inventory tells another weird story. Even though construction added millions of square feet, zoning laws and investor buying sprees squeeze supply in starter home categories. Institutional landlords now scoop entire subdivisions, renting them back at premium prices, effectively converting the American dream into a subscription service. Geography adds irony. Remote work promised a suburban exodus, yet boomtowns like Austin and Boise saw costs soar faster than coastal metros, proving that Zoom freedom can still be pricey. Rural counties once touted as affordable havens now face bidding wars from out-of-state cash buyers, leaving local teachers and nurses commuting 90 minutes each way. Housing isn't just about walls and roofs. It shapes access to education, healthcare, and generational opportunity. When shelter feels like a luxury good, stability unravels, and looming climate insurance premiums in coastal states inflate costs even when the land itself is cheap. But even a pricey home can't guarantee safety. Imagine paying top dollar for a home and still lying awake in the whir of sirens and potholes rattling your commute. Safety, both physical and structural, is another arena where the system's failure is loudest. In 2023, over 40,000 Americans died from gun violence, according to the Gun Violence Archive. That's more than the number of US troops killed in the entire Iraq and Afghanistan wars combined. Mass shootings dominate headlines, but single victim incidents erode any sense of normalcy. Parents debate bullet-resistant backpacks. Teachers rehearse lockdown drills. Add traffic to the worry list. Early federal estimates show 39,345 people died on US roads in 2024, a figure that still dwarfs other developed nations when adjusted for population. Poor road design, distracted driving, and underfunded transit options funnel millions into cars, even in cities where walking would make sense if sidewalks existed. The American Society of Civil Engineers most recently graded national infrastructure a tenuous C. That composite hides worse marks: roads at D, levees at D, and transit veering towards failure. Commuters lose an average of 51 hours a year sitting in congestion, burning both fuel and patience. Power grids show their fragility whenever a polar vortex or heat dome strikes, plunging neighborhoods into darkness and frozen pipes. Water systems in cities like Jackson, Mississippi, and Flint, Michigan, remind us that clean taps are not guaranteed. Fixing all this would require an investment gap of nearly $3.7 trillion over the next decade, according to engineers. Federal infrastructure bills have injected cash, but supply chain delays inflate project costs, and community opposition often stalls upgrades. While bridges wait their turn for repairs, gun violence survivors wait for trauma care beds, creating a perverse feedback loop. Crumbling roads slow ambulances racing toward overcrowded ERs. Absurd, yet real. However, danger is not the only ceaseless balancing act. If you dodge traffic and stray bullets, you still face a work culture that barely pauses for family. You've navigated medical bills, student loans, soaring housing costs, deteriorating roads, and a background hum of violence. Now, punch in for work. Americans log 184 more annual work hours than Germans, yet have zero guaranteed paid vacation days. The US remains the only high-income OECD nation without national paid parental leave, while Americans piece together unpaid leave or sick days. Sweden offers 480 days of parental leave, and France mandates at least 25 paid vacation days annually. For US families, covering essentials like diapers and rent often becomes a stressful balancing act. Meanwhile, childcare costs average over $12,000 annually, more than in-state college tuition in many regions. That forces some parents, mostly women, out of the workforce, further tightening budgets already stretched by loans and mortgages. Gig work culture, hailed for flexibility, often lacks healthcare, retirement contributions, or unemployment insurance, pushing basic protections further from reach. Even full-time roles face always-on expectations thanks to smartphones. Studies show that productivity flatlines beyond 50 hours a week. Yet, burnout and mental health struggles are rising faster than ever. Workplace stress now rivals money worries as a predictor of hypertension. It's absurd. In a country that built skyscrapers and moon rockets, people hesitate to take a sick day for fear of disciplinary points. Yet amid the grind, cracks of optimism appear. Several states, California, New York, and Washington, have enacted paid leave programs. Union drives at tech firms, coffee chains, and warehouses hint that collective bargaining may rebalance the scales. Remote and hybrid schedules, though uneven, have cut commutes and opened job markets for rural talent, and bipartisan support grows for expanded childcare tax credits, recognizing that families are the economic infrastructure too. American history proves that absurd moments often precede breakthroughs. Women's suffrage, social security, and civil rights all began as impossible dreams. So while living in the US right now can feel ridiculous, remember this: the same energy that fuels skyscraper ambitions can turn public will into public good. Together, the US can make the absurd inspiring again. What's the most mind-boggling part of American life you've experienced? Share your story in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes, hit like and subscribe. Your voice helps shine a light on what needs fixing.